Heat, Celtics, Nuggets, and say it ain't so, my Lakers? How did these four teams get here? And what's yet to come? Y'all know what I'm talking about. The NBA's conference finals is here, and you know your boy AJ2K is here to discuss all things NBA playoffs on today's episode of Full Timeout. But before we get to today's episode, I gotta roll the official Full Timeout intro. Yeah. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Full Timeout, your favorite sports podcast, hosted by your boy AJ2K. It's a pleasure to be here today, man. Now, I must admit, last week, man, I had some technical difficulties. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I had some technical difficulties, man. I tried to do a little extra, you know what I'm saying, with my video, with my audio. I tried to do add some bells and whistles to it. But, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Got to be real with the people. So over the radio, we had to run episode 1 again. But the beauty in that is you got to hear my predictions again for the second round of the NBA playoffs. You got to hear how I felt about the NFL draft again. You got my intro again, introducing myself to the people for the people who don't know. And for the people who didn't see episode 1, they got to see it. So I'm not too mad at it, but I'm super excited to get y'all fresh and new content today because so much has happened. So much is going on. And we're in the conference finals, man. It's a ton to get into today. The beauty in episode 2 for me, I would say, is I don't have to do the intro again. I was always one of those kids, man, in school that hated the introductions, man. I can't stand introductions. Y'all know how it was when you was young, middle school, mainly middle school, elementary school, where you had to go around the classroom and, tell everybody 2 facts about yourself and 1 thing that people might not know about you. And it's like, yo, I didn't see these same kids for the last, I don't know how many years, finna go to high school with these kids. Like, they know me, I know them. What we gotta keep doing this for? Like, it's just the same people, new teacher. That's what it is. You might as well just tell us, teacher, introduce yourself to me, not to the rest of the class. That's what it was about. But again, y'all might like intros like that. I like to get straight to the action, man. I like to get straight into what I want to talk about, man. And that's just how I am. You know what I'm saying? So that's the best part about this now. You got a groove going. Like I said, I recorded a second episode, but couldn't get it to y'all. But listen, this is the official second episode because this one is, getting posted on YouTube, and this one will be on the radio, the Block 105. And so I'm happy to be here, man. For the people listening over the radio right now, if you want to watch this on YouTube, all you got to do, or you can do a couple things. You can go on my Instagram, AJ2KA as in Apple, J as in juice, A as in alphabet, E as in eat, the number 2 and the letter K. Go on my Instagram, click on my link tree, and my YouTube link is there. If you don't want to do that, just go on YouTube, type in the word timeout, the numbers 0824. Again, timeout, the numbers 0824. Think Kobe Bryant. My favorite player is Kobe. Timeout and Kobe. That's all you really need to know. And you will find my YouTube page so you can see this, actually watch this instead of just listen to it. And vice versa, if you're on YouTube watching this and you want to listen to this over the radio every Wednesday Central from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., you could just go on theblock105.com. And again, every Wednesday between 6 to 7, this plays over their airways. Thank God for them. Major blessing, major hookup. And so, yeah, man, that's how you find out everything. I'm doing YouTube shorts. I'm doing reels. Those I call timeout. Those are quick 30 seconds to 60 seconds. You know what I'm saying? If you want to just get a quick little fill in. But if you want the whole thing, if you want all the analysis, the breaking news, the in-depth stuff, you come here to Full Timeout. You know what I'm saying? So that's where to find all my information. If you didn't catch this at the beginning, I'm going to bring it back up at the end because I need everybody following your boy so y'all catch everything I put out on time. And that AJ2K is the same as I put it up on the screen right now for the people that are watching on YouTube. That's the same for everything. That's YouTube, or that's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's TikTok. You can find me same everywhere. So, that's what it is. But man, got to get to this playoff show because we in the conference finals. We finally at the conference finals, man. And I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be more excited. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I feel okay. I feel y'all excitement too. I feel y'all excitement too. I like that. I like that. I feel y'all excitement too. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into it, man. Let's get right into it, man. We gotta talk about the stuff that happened in the semis though, real quick. I really want to get into that because a lot of things happened in the semifinals that I gotta give myself props for because I predicted a lot of this stuff. And then some things happened in the semis that I didn't quite expect, but I still got most of these predictions right. So without further ado, man, let's get right to it, man. We gotta talk about the Celtics and the Sixers. We got to talk about that series, man, because it was very interesting. Very, very interesting. It didn't go exactly how I envisioned it going, but it went very similar to how I envisioned it going. So I'm not going to lie, man. I recorded episode 1, and right after I got done recording episode 1, James Harden went out there and dropped 45. And I was like, sheesh. Okay, I see you, Harden. We haven't seen that version of James Harden in forever. But I did say on the last episode that in order for the Celtics to win this series, especially if Embiid was hurt or was going to miss the series, he'd have to be Houston James Harden. And he was that version of himself for 2 games of this series, game 1 and game 4. Game 1, he had 45 shooting 17 to 30 from the field, 3 of 14 from three-point range with 6 assists and a game winner. Y'all know the movie hit on Al Horford for the game winner. Game 4, 42.16 of 23 from the field, 6 of 9 from three-point range, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and another game winner where Jaylen Brown decided to cheat off of him to double-team Joel Embiid, and he paid for it because they kicked it to Harden, and Harden basically essentially hit the game winner. But again, I still looked at the series and said, well, I did expect the Sixers to win 2 games. I just didn't expect the Sixers to win the 2 games the way they won the 2 games because I didn't expect James Harden to go off like that. When I said James Harden got to be Houston James Harden, I kind of said it jokingly, not thinking that he'd really be Houston James Harden. But he went out there and did his thing. I looked at the Celtics and I said, the Celtics giving the Sixers everything they're looking for. They're giving them every switch they're looking for. In game 1, they took advantage of Al Horford all day on the switch on James Harden. Game 4, they kind of gave James Harden everything he wanted. They let him get high early, and you can't let a great shooter or a great scorer like James Harden get going early because once he gets it going, he's gonna keep it going. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna keep feeding him the ball once he gets it going, and that's gonna be a theme throughout the entire game. So I looked at Joe Mazzulla, and he made a ton of mistakes throughout this series, man. I'm not gonna lie. He made a lot of mistakes throughout this series that had me looking at him like, yo, they need Ime Udoka at the end of the day. And I still think that's going to play a part when we get to a certain part, in this playoffs. But, at the end of the day, James Harden couldn't keep up that level of play at the end of the day. At the end of the day, Joel Embiid was hurt and was dealing with injury, throughout the series that kind of hampered him throughout the series. He had some decent games here and there. But anytime Al Horford, and that's no shade at Al Horford, because we know Al Horford is a solid defender and an elite shooter. So there's no shade at him. But anytime Al Horford is locking up the league MVP, there's something going on. That's all I'm going to say about that. So something going on. So it was clear that he couldn't keep up his level of play at the highest level. And so that made things tough on him. They got contributions from the rest of the team. Maxey was decent. But for the most part, the Celtics, they were just a better overall team. And at the end of the day, Doc Rivers never fails. He never fails. Now, you could blame this series loss on James Harden because James Harden, he was terrible in games 5 through 7, especially in the fourth quarter. He went scoreless in 32 minutes. 32 minutes, went scoreless, didn't score a point in the fourth quarter of the last couple games of the series. You could blame Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid was terrible in game 7. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't won a game 7 his entire career, and he dropped 15 and 8 on 5 of 18 shooting from the field. and 4 and 0 of 4 from 3 from the, you know what I'm saying, from 3. You could blame it on Joel Embiid, but ultimately, I'm looking more so at Doc Rivers. These numbers are, you can't ignore the facts. Doc Rivers has 33 closeout game L's on his resume. 33. Doc Rivers has blown playoff leads where he's up 3-1 or 3-2 7 times. In 2003, he was up 3-1, lost that series. In 2009, he was up 3-2, lost that series. In 2010, he was up 3-2, lost that series. In 2012, he was up 3-2, lost that series. In 2015, he was up 3-1, lost that series. In 2020, he was up 3-1, lost that series. In 2023, he was just up 3-2, lost that series. 7 times. That's an NBA record. The 33 losses in closeout games is also an NBA record. And you look at Doc Rivers, and I don't want to say he's a terrible coach because he's not a terrible coach. He has had a lot of, unfortunate events happen. When he was coaching the Celtics, he had injuries to Kevin Garnett. He had an injury to Kendrick Perkins that prevented him from playing in the finals against the Lakers in 2010. He had injuries with the Clippers with Chris Paul, with Blake Griffin. He had injuries with Joel Embiid. So yes, he has had a series of unfortunate events happen. So I don't want to completely just, not, bring up that context. But at the end of the day, man, for some of these games and some of these series, it's almost like Doc Rivers don't have his team prepared. And they just come out. I mean, the way the Sixers looked in game 7, they played a good first half. But I mean, the second half, they quit. It's like they quit. It's like they didn't want to play for him anymore. It's like they just didn't care anymore. They looked unmotivated. They looked uninspired. Again, not prepared for the second half. Jason Tatum went berserk in game 6 and took over the fourth quarter, and then went berserk in game 7, dropping 51, and they had no answer for it whatsoever. And so, again, it's on the players too. But like, this reoccurring thing with Doc Rivers is not coincidental that is happening to Doc Rivers. It's not coincidental that these are NBA records he's setting right now for losing. We just got to call a spade a spade. We got to call a spade a spade. We got to be honest when we talk about Doc Rivers, man. It's hard. It's tough to be on him like this. But at some point, man, you got to close out some of these series, man. You got enough talent to close out some of these series. When they lost game 6 in Philly, we all knew what was coming when they went back to Boston. And the players clearly knew what was coming too, because they came out in the second half and didn't play at all. And so you look at this, man, and again, I felt like the Boston Celtics were the better team. Just in general, I thought they were the better team going into the series. And I did predict them, winning this series in 6 games. But at the end of the day, when they went up 3-2, that's a series the Sixers are supposed to close out. You go up 3-1 or 3-2, and you going back home, you're supposed to close that series out. Anytime you give a team life and give a team a chance to go home, especially a team like the Celtics, we have seen the Celtics down 3-2 and come back against the Bucks just last year in advance. You give a team that type of life, and this is what you get. This is just what you get. And so you need to get more out of James Harden. You need to get more out of Maxey. You need to get more out of Embiid. You need to get more out of your stars, more out of, PJ Tucker, more out of everybody. They got to play for you. It seemed like they don't play for them sometimes, even though the Celtics, man, they like to blow this series, man. Seriously. Like, the Celtics come out and play so lackadaisical sometimes. They play with teams that they're supposed to win. There's no way they should have lost game 1 without Embiid on the floor, but they did. They did. It's no way the series against the Hawks in the first round should have went, 6 games, but it did. Because the Celtics, for whatever reason, they play with their food, to be honest. They play with their food. They get comfortable out there. But even with them getting comfortable with the Sixers weren't able to close out the deal. And so It's ugly, man. Like I said, I don't want to completely just harp on Doc Rivers because Joel Embiid, again, has never won a game 7, and he was terrible in game 7. James Harden, I mean, my goodness. The man was outscored by everybody in the starting lineup for the Sixers. Everybody in the starting lineup had more points than James Harden in game 7. James Harden's stat line for game 7, 3 of 11, 9 points, 7 assists. Like, and James Harden resume in game 7s, I won't get into, but just know it's not the greatest when it comes to the numbers that he puts up. And so I can't put it all on Doc Rivers. But again, man, I can't put it all on the players either. At some point, you got to come to the realization that Doc Rivers in a lot of these series is getting out coached. Dare I say I don't want to say choking, but dare I say choking? Because, I mean, 7 L's with a 3-1 or 3-2 lead, 33 losses in closeout games, man. They say the closeout game is the hardest game to win. And Doc Rivers has he's closed out some series, of course, but recently, man, we have not seen it on the biggest stage. And Doc Rivers is supposed to be the coach that pushed this team over the hump. They brought in Doc Rivers to get them over the hump, get them to not only an Eastern Conference Finals, but to a Finals. And Doc Rivers has not been able to do it. And so, it's tough. When I look at that series again, I always thought the Celtics were the better team. At the end of the day, they found a way to win. I got to give myself kudos. I picked the Sixers or the Celtics to win this series. Yes, I did. But I picked them to win in 6 games. They had to win in 7. So I'll take the L there. I'll take the L there. I'll take that. I'll take that. I will take that. Gladly take that. Because, you're not going to get them all right. But that's pretty darn close. That's pretty darn close. I didn't expect the 45 and the 42 from Harden. If somebody would told me that going into the series, I might have had a different prediction. But nevertheless, the team I picked to win the series, and I ain't mad about that. Not one bit. Moving on to the Heat and the Knicks. And this series was very simple for me, man. I don't have to waste a lot of time on this series. Man. Jimmy Buckets is serious. The Miami Heat are a very solid team, especially going up against a team in the New York Knicks whose star player, unfortunately, he just wouldn't show up. He had a couple of solid games, but he wouldn't show up. The 2 games that they won in this series, both Brunson and Randall had very solid games. Very solid games. And the 4 games that they lost, Randall was terrible. Like, the formula was there. In order to compete in this series, you needed major outputs from Brunson, but you also needed major big games from Julius Randle. You needed that. And Julius Randle is one of the reasons why I didn't trust this team to advance past this round in the first place. We know his playoff history. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. Julius Randle has not looked good in the playoffs. And not only is it in his play, it's also in his body language. It's everywhere. Again, I said this last episode, and I'm saying it again, even though I don't want to say it. I don't want to say he is a playoff choker. I think that's a bit harsh. But what I will say is the man has struggled mightily in the postseason. And it's been when his team has needed him most. Which is the worst part about this. It's the worst part about this. In the regular season, Brunson averaged 24 points, 6 and 3 on 42% shooting. For this series, in this postseason, Brunson averaged 31, 6 and 5 on 50% shooting. Randall, on the other hand, a guy who averaged 25 and 11 on 46% shooting from the field and 34% from 3 in the regular season. In this playoff series, averaged 19, 10 shooting 41% from the field and 28% from 3. Not gonna get it done. But you see the difference in the 2 stars on this roster. 1 star in Brunson elevates his game come postseason time, and that's been shown now. Even last year in the postseason, playing alongside Luka Doncic, playing with the Mavs, he elevated his game to that next level and helped that team get to a conference finals. So we know what Brunson is all about. And I think this year was really his coming out party because he really was on that main stage in the Garden, playing for New York, playing for the Knicks. You know, you give a lot of credit to Luka for the success that the Mavs have had or the Mavs had last year. You know, and you give some to Brunson, but not a ton of it to Brunson. You know what I mean? Because, you know, Luka's the guy there, and we always thought Luka was the guy. No disrespect to Brunson, but Luka's the guy. Well, here, Brunson looking like the guy, and more of that light is on him, and he showed up. He showed out. But his teammate, his running mate, and Julius Randle, a guy who's an all-star, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he made an all-NBA team. I could be wrong. Did not show up. And Brunson didn't make anything. Wasn't all NBA, none of that. And so it's tough, man. You know, you got Stephen A saying they should trade him. You got other, you know, Knicks fans don't want him in the city no more. And I get it. I understand. You know, they've seen enough. They've gone through a lot of heartache and a lot of, you know, a lot of pain in their in their history. And that's tough to have to go through on a consistent basis if you're a New York Knicks fan. But you got to look at this roster, man. And I will say this about the Knicks. For a vast majority of my life, besides the years where they had Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks wasn't a relevant team, right? And so I will say this about the Knicks. Last year, or I believe the year before that, they got to the playoffs, right? They got bounced in the first round, but they got to the playoffs. Last year they missed, if I'm not mistaken, but this year they made it again. And now they made it to the second round. I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Be patient, Knicks fans. You see it growing. It's steadily growing. A couple moves here, a couple moves there. The Knicks are in the conference finals. A couple moves here, a couple moves there. The Knicks are in the finals. It's just the facts. They pushed the Heat in this series to 6 games. I thought it was going to go 5 because I thought the Heat were just that much better, especially if Randall wasn't going to show up. But they pushed this series to 6 games because of the play of Brunson and to an extent the play of Julius Randle. They got it to 6 games. And so, and game 6 was close. And so at the end of the day, you see how close you are. It's not like they are a million miles away from competing. They're competing right now. They just need a couple of pieces. They need another wing, in my opinion. They need a guy a step above RJ Barrett. You know, if they can get a guy like a Zach LaVine, maybe I think that would help them out. You know, Donovan Mitchell would have been able to help out a lot. You know, they can get another a wing that can go out there and really be a nice running mate and make for a great backcourt with him and Brunson. I think that, you know, they will be a much more competitive team and a team that can go further. But, you know, as of right now, if it's just Brunson and Randle, you need a lot from both of them because you don't know what to expect from Julius Randle. You don't know what to expect from Julius Randle. You don't know what to expect, you know, from RJ Barrett. You don't know what to expect from OB Top. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll take that back. You kind of do know what to expect. You kind of know to expect some inconsistency, to be honest. They're going to have good games and they're going to have games where they completely disappear. But in the playoffs, you cannot do that, especially against a team with the experience of the Miami Heat, especially against a team in the Miami Heat who have a guy like Jimmy Butler who on a bum ankle still out there giving you buckets, still out there putting in that work. And so it's tough. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? Again, this series was pretty easy for me to predict. I got to give credit where it's due though to the New York Knicks because they were a little bit more competitive than I thought they would be. So I will give them credit where it's due there. You know, I give myself again kudos for getting the team right. Where's my ping at? There it is. But I also got to give myself a big fat because I didn't predict the games right. So I said 5 and went 6. I give credit for them making it more competitive. And again, shout out to Brunson because Brunson is a dog. But again, the Miami Heat are just too much, man. They got too much experience. They got too much championship pedigree there. You know, they just seem like Julius Randle said it himself, man. Maybe they want it more than us. And that was a horrible quote, by the way. Like, it don't get no worse than your best player or supposedly your best player saying, well, maybe the other team just wanted more. Like, that don't really, that's not ideal for you for you to say. And I'm sure he knows that. And I'm sure coach got in his ear about that. Like, yo, what are you, like, you really just said that? Even probably his teammates, like, yo, like, why would you say that? Like that's not something that you say. But at the end of the day, I mean, he kind of wasn't lying. You just something you're not supposed to say, but he wasn't lying. The Knicks are going to compete. The Knicks are going to compete for years to come. You know, they play hard, they ball hard. I'm not the person to pile on with the Knicks. I think the Knicks will be fine going forward, but I just think right now, you know, they're a couple pieces away. They just a couple pieces away, man. Lakers and Warriors. Y'all know I'm excited to talk about this. I'm gonna try my hardest to not spend the whole episode talking about this. I'm gonna just try. I'm gonna try because I want to get to a point by the end of all this. By the end of this little soliloquy that I'm about to, go on real quick talking about, this Lakers and this Warriors series. My love-hate relationship with AD is kind of up and down because, before the back half of this series, AD, I was thinking in the back of my head, I got it right here in my notes. How many more big games does AD have left in the tank for this series? Because we all knew the numbers. The odd number games, he was 28 points, 17 rebounds, 57, shooting 57% from the field. Even number games, 13 points per game, 10 rebounds, shooting 40% from the field. He needed to be dominant on both sides of the ball for the Lakers to win this series at the end of the day. But turns out he was towards the back half of this series. He went out there, and I got to give AD props, man. Laker Nation and a lot of the outside noise, a lot of the media has been really hard, including myself, man, has been really hard on AD and his inconsistencies. And I just want to say it is because people know what AD can do. People know AD can be a walk-in 30 and 20. People know AD can be a walk-in 40 and 15. That's why they expect so much from him, especially in the postseason. Because it's like, yo, AD, in order for us to really compete for a chip, like to really compete, you're going to have to be dominant. LeBron James is 38 years of age. And whether it's the foot injury or just the age, he don't quite look the same. Now, he can have a game. Game 6, he had a game, 39-9. But that looks like it's not something that you're going to get from LeBron on a game-to-game basis in the postseason. And at this point, you shouldn't have to rely on getting that on a game-to-game, basis from LeBron at age 38 in his 20th season. That's Anthony Davis. He's a younger guy. He's a younger star. He's a champion. He's a top 75 player. He's the guy that's supposed to be carrying the load. And I'm glad that, he is. I'm also glad in this series that Darvin Ham finally made the adjustment to step up on the shooters off all the screens. I mean, to start this series, man, AD was playing back in the paint, giving Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Steph Curry 1,000,000 feet to shoot the three ball. And yes, you got away with it in game 1. They shot 40%. But in game 2, they shot 50% from the three because they had 1,000,000 feet to shoot the three. So thank God. And I know the thought process, man. Coming into this series, Looney was averaging like 20-something boards a game. So I understood the mindset of, look, we're going to play off of them a little bit off these screens. We're not going to help up off these screens. We're going to bank on them missing some of these, or at least bank on, when they miss, AD get the rebound, they get one shot at the rim. Opposed to AD stepping up off those screens, right? And Loon down there getting all the rebounds, getting the easy putbacks or getting rebounds, kicking it out the shooters, and they getting the second, third, and fourth, chance opportunities. So I got the mindset, but at the same time, the way these guys can shoot, you got to take your chance. Tell Bron to run down there and grab some boards. Tell Reeves, tell whoever else, Lonnie Walker, thank God he finally started to get some tick. I'll get to him in a second. Tell him to crash the boards. Tell, whoever, Vando, tell them guys to crash the boards and help out because we cannot give these guys all day to shoot. We can't give them, all this daylight to shoot the ball. They shoot the ball too effectively. They shoot the ball. First off, they shoot the ball too much for that. They shoot the three ball too much for that, number one. And number two, they shoot it again. They shoot it too effectively. These guys, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter we've ever seen. Klay Thompson, maybe the second greatest shooter we've ever seen. Now, I didn't look like that in this series, and I'll get to him in a second. But, history has shown what Klay Thompson can do. And he did give us, what was it, 30 in game 2 and 25 in game 1 before his play eventually fell off. And so, again, I'm glad that Darvin Ham finally made the adjustment. I'm also glad that we didn't let Steph Curry beat us. Thank God we didn't let Steph Curry beat us. We stepped up off the screens. We double teamed him. We was physical with him. Steph Curry's still gonna be Steph. He's still gonna do his thing. I think he still averaged somewhere around 27 for the series. But at least he wasn't going for 40. At least he wasn't going for 50. It was clear that we We wasn't trying to allow that to happen. I believe the swing game in this series for us was game 4. It was 2-1. And, game 4 was pivotal. You had to go out there and win game 4 in LA. You had to go out there and win game 4 in LA. And they went out there and, hey, the Warriors gave it their best shot, man. They knew the importance of that game. Going back to Golden State 2-2, they dang sure didn't want to go down 3-1. That's not what they wanted. And so they hung around in that game and gave it their best shot. But the thing that I love about the Lakers, especially at home, is the depth. From Reeves to D'Lo to Dennis Schroeder to Rui Hachimura, Vando. These guys can not only spread the floor, they play great defense. A lot of these guys can handle the ball very well. They can get into their actions with multiple different players, from LeBron to Reeves to Dennis Schroeder. You know what I'm saying? So Bron don't have to have the ball in his hands 24/7. And they just play well together. This team was constructed pretty much at the trade deadline, and it just almost feels like this team's been playing together for 5 years, the level of chemistry that this team has. And so I love the depth. And again, Lonnie Walker. I'm going to be real with y'all. And my bad to the people watching on YouTube, man. I was too excited to get into this topic. I didn't even put the graphic up on the screen. Let me get that up there for y'all. Laker fans wasn't shocked at what we seen from Lonnie Walker. I'm going to just be real with y'all. A lot of us Laker fans was looking for Lonnie Walker. Like, yo, where Lonnie Walker at? Especially when Troy Brown Jr. was out there. Man, I don't want to be like that, but man, Troy Brown Jr. that has not been great this entire postseason. He wasn't great in the first round. The little bit of play he got in the second round, he still wasn't great. And it's like, yo, Lonnie Walker was one of our best rotation pieces. I believe he started for us at one point. One of the best pieces that we had on the team on both sides of the ball. He's young. He's athletic. He could defend at a high level. You saw him chasing Clay off them screens, chasing Steph Curry off them screens. He's a guy who's streaky, can hit shots from the outside, can dunk on you if need be, and clearly can hit shots in the fourth quarter, as we saw in game 4. Draymond Green was 100% right when he said, I feel like we did a hell of a job running LeBron and AD into the ground, for paraphrasing here. We ran him into the ground. We got up and down the court. These guys are old. Again, paraphrasing. These guys are old. Some of them play a little old. And we know if we can get up and down the court on these guys, they're going to struggle to keep up. And we saw in game 4, LeBron and AD, I mean, gasping for air. Gasping for air. But the depth in Lonnie Walker, with 15 fourth quarter points, basically sealing the deal till Draymond, they tried to run the hammer action and LeBron noticed the play, called it out, and Draymond turned the ball over. 15 fourth quarter points from Lonnie Walker closed out the basketball game. Again, not shocking that he went out there and balled. I will be honest, though. The part, like him closing the game in the fourth quarter, was pretty shocking. I ain't gonna lie. I was kind of watching the game as a Laker fan. I was cringing a little bit. I ain't going jack. I was cringing a little bit because I'm like, yo, all right. Every shot, I'm like, all right, nah, But after he hit like the third or fourth shot, I'm like, yo, okay, keep shooting. I mean, you feeling it. Keep pulling. I'm not mad at you at that point, As a shooter myself, I do hoop. You know what I'm saying? As a shooter myself, I know when you get it going, you got it going. And no matter who defending you, no matter who's in front of you, it's going to be tough to stop a good scorer from scoring once they have it going. They kept on making that, switching, making sure Steph was guarding them. And I know Steph was having flashbacks of Kyrie Irving in the finals in 2016 because that's what it was looking like in that fourth quarter. That's what it was looking like. It was looking like flashbacks to 2016, And so shout out to Lonnie Walker, man. We needed it. Shout out to Darvin Ham for making that adjustment. And also, we're not done with Darvin Ham because Darvin Ham made another great adjustment. Obviously, the Warriors came back and won game 5. I was hoping that the Lakers would finish him off in game 5, but they didn't. It was what it was. And we was a little nervous going into game 6 because, LeBron kind of tweaked the ankle a little bit. AD went out with what looks like a concussion. I'm not going to lie. I'm still kind of questioning if that was a concussion or not, but thank God it wasn't. And he played through, whatever pain he was dealing with. Shout out to Darvin Ham for deciding to start Dennis Schroeder in game 6 in LA and moving Vanderbilt to the bench. I love Vando. He's great on defense, but we needed more perimeter defense than anything. And we needed a guy similar to Draymond Green that kind of, was kind of rah-rah out there. And Dennis Schroeder was that guy. I mean, he didn't have a great, game 6 scoring rise. I think he only had like 3 points in the game. Got double teed and teched out of the game, kicked out of the game. But at the end of the day, his energy, his effort out there, Draymond Green said it best. It changed the series. It changed the series from a lot of different angles, man. It really got us going. It got us going. And so, shout out to Darvin Ham for that adjustment, man. You needed another ball handler on the floor, and you needed another guy to throw at Steph in the starting lineup and to throw at Clay to knock those boys kind of off their game. I don't know if that's the move that they expected so late in this series. Once you get to game 6 and game 7 of a series, it ain't too many adjustments you're going to make. It's not too many adjustments that the opposing coach don't kind of expect. They know what you want to run. They know what you're doing. They know your defense, your offense. They know your audibles. Not trying to go to football here, but they know your backups to your backups at that point because you almost done emptied the clip trying to get the series to 6-7 games or trying to close them out earlier. But to make that adjustment this late in the series, man, I think that was huge. It was key. And shout out to him, man. I didn't know what to expect out of Darvin Ham, honestly. First playoff experience for him as a head coach. I had no idea what to expect. I think having LeBron, having AD, having that championship experience definitely helps, because you're fooling yourselves if you don't think LeBron has any influence on how the offenses run, how the defenses run, who's starting, who's not, but at the end of the day, Darvin Ham is the head coach and he's getting that final say. And so shout out to him, man. He made great adjustments throughout this series that really had the Warriors on their heels. Dare I say he outcoached Steve Kerr, who's a 4-time champion? Dare I say he outcoached Steve Kerr, who is a 4-time champion? Game 5, the Warriors got a lot, from the others. Wiggins, Draymond had 20 and 10. Wiggins had 25, 7 and 5. Gary Payton II had 13 and 6. Jordan Poole came off the bench and gave him 11. And then obviously Steph did this thing with 27 and 8. But in game 6 with starting Dennis Schroeder, all of that stuff kind of slowed down. And the others wasn't able to have the type of outputs that they had. DiVincenzo was probably the best role player for them in that basketball game. And I said I was going to talk about Clay again. Here I am. Klay Thompson, man. 3 of 19, 2 of 12 from 3. I mean, again, after game 1 and game 2, 15 points, 5 of 14 in game 3, 9 points, 3 of 11 in game 4, 10 points, 3 of 12 in game 5. Tough. Don't know what's going on with Clay. Maybe he was just off. Maybe Clay might just be about done. I don't know. Draymond talking about the dynasty ain't over and all this stuff, man. These guys not getting younger. They getting older. So, I don't know. But all I know is Clay was not himself after them first 2 games in the series. He just was not himself. They may have been better off starting Jordan Poole. And I know Jordan Poole was a defensive liability, but I don't think he would have shot the ball as bad as Clay did with the same amount of looks and attempts at the rim. And Clay in game 6 was getting some looks. He was getting some looks at the rim, like wide open. We all saw the replay where LeBron tried to Steph and Clay was open, and LeBron went to close out on Clay, but saw Steph was open and just was like, no, I'm going to cover Steph. And Clay was the man with the ball. Everybody know you're supposed to guard the man with the ball. No, Bronson, I'm finna run guard Steph off ball. Clay shot wide open, clank. And so great strategy. It worked out. They clearly honed in on their defense on Clay and Steph. That was, obviously what the game plan was, and it worked out, man. Shout out to my Lakers, man, from 2-10 to the conference finals. I'd be lying if I said I expected this. What I did say previously, though, is I like the moves that was made, and we could give a lot of teams a run for their money. But conference finals, I wouldn't have put my money on it. I'm not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, hey, they came out and did it. Now, I got a question for the Stephen A's of the world and all the people that was on that bandwagon with the Mount Rushmore of Steph wins this series and wins the NBA Finals this year, beating LeBron James. He'll be on the Mount Rushmore instead of LeBron James. Well, I got a question. What's the narrative now that LeBron James has beat him? What narratives are we pushing now? I watched some sports talk shows today, I watched them. I paid attention to see what kind of narratives was being pushed, and there wasn't too many bad ones being pushed about Steph. Knowing that if Bron would have lost this series, it would have been some bad narratives pushed about LeBron. I understand. So I'm going to push them narratives then. And I love Steph, but I'm going to push them narratives then if nobody else going to do it. I'm going to push them narratives then. Number one, I want to point this out. Steve Kerr, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, when fully healthy, 19-0 in the West, undefeated until they saw LeBron James. Undefeated in the West until they saw LeBron James. Everybody said LeBron was scared to come to the West. He came to the West where the smoke was and beat the undefeated Warriors, the defending champion Warriors, to advance to a conference finals. I got another narrative I want to push really quick before I change topics. If anything, for me, this proves a couple of things. One, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors never beat a healthy LeBron James-led team without Kevin Durant. Fact. I don't care what you say. I don't care who disagrees. It is a fact. It is a fact. 2015, no Kyrie, no K-Love. 2016, yes, the Golden State Warriors dealt with their own stuff, but they lost that series after being up 3-1. And I don't care what nobody say. I don't care who went down for the Lakers. If LeBron is up 3-1, you're not losing that series. You know, he's not losing that series. It is what it is. He's not losing that series. Then after that, here comes Kevin Durant. And yes, you saw a healthy Cleveland Cavaliers team with Kevin Durant or with K-Love and Kyrie at that point. And after that, you saw a healthy Cavs team without Kyrie Irving and got smoked both times by the Golden State Warriors. But at the end of the day, we all know how loaded that team was. Everybody wanted to criticize LeBron and all of that, yada, yada, yada. 3-6 in the finals or whatever the record is, yada, yada, yada at the time. Cool, cute, fun and games. But now that LeBron has a healthy team and the deck is remotely even, by the way, the Golden State Warriors were favored to win this series. So it's not as if LeBron went into this series favored to win as a 7 seed. The Golden State Warriors had home court advantage. The Golden State Warriors, again, was the defending champions. And, again, was the favorite in this series. And LeBron still went in there and took them boys down in 6 games. Why are we not pushing them narratives today? That's what I want to know. Why are we not pushing a narrative that this, or the question, since the original topic of the Mount Rushmore was just that it's a topic of discussion. Okay, so why is it not a topic of discussion that Steph Curry cannot beat a LeBron James-led team without Kevin Durant? A healthy LeBron James team without Kevin Durant. It's weird to me. But if nobody else gonna point it out, I will. I will. It's all about, topics on sports shows today. Is the dynasty over? No, that ain't the question. The question is, what does this mean for LeBron's legacy if he go win another ring? Just like the question for Steph Curry was, what does this mean for Steph if Steph go win another ring? No, what does this mean for LeBron at age 38 going in year 20? What does this mean if he win another ring? Oh, okay. Let me move on, man. I ain't finna do that to y'all. Suns and Nuggets. Now, wait. Quickly. Go back to the Lakers. Because this is a series that I predicted 100% right down to the winner of the series and the games. Yes, sir. One more time. Yes, sir. Give me my pings. Anyway, again, back to the Nuggets. The Nuggets and the Suns. Gotta talk about it. Saw how this series is gonna go to. If Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are not going crazy out there, they got no shot. We saw it. And it definitely didn't help that Chris Paul went out. Now, I understand there's some people out there saying that the team, they may be better without Chris Paul. They went to their bench and all this, that, and the third. That's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, you sure could have used, Chris Paul in Game 5 and Game 6 of this series. You sure could have used them when, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant was out there struggling. At the end of the day, you could have used them. I do want to say something about Devin Booker, though. Shaq had his moment. I'm having mine. Devin Booker, I'm sorry. I wasn't familiar with your game. I wasn't familiar. That's kind of a joke. I was familiar, but I didn't. I expected it to be a Kevin Durant led basketball team, but looking at this team, man, Devin Booker before games 5 and 6. Shout out to Kendrick Perkins for these numbers, averaging 36 points a game. Number one in transition points. Number one in points on drives. Number one in isolation. Number one on mid-range shots. 61% the entire series and 57% for the entire postseason from the tray. That's insanity. Devin Booker was playing at a nuclear level. He was playing at a level that nobody could see him. But at the end of the day, we all knew it was, at least me, I didn't think the level of efficiency was something he was going to be able to keep up. I just didn't. And I looked at this series and said, okay, in order for them to win these games, KD and Devin Booker combined for 86 points in game 3. In game 4, they combined for 72 points. They got to do that every game for the rest of this series. Keep in mind, it was down 2-0. They got to do that 4 times in this series. And they got to hope that Jokic, who had a 50-point game in this series, and Jamal Murray don't match that, and their role players and their depth don't kick in and outweigh what they're doing offensively. They was able to do it for 2 games in Phoenix because they got a little help. Again, Devin Booker and KD had amazing game 3s, but then in game 4, they got a little help from Landry Shamet, who dropped 19, in that game 4. So that helped. But again, role players don't really play the best on the road. And so going back to Denver, you need Devin Booker and KD to combine for 86 points again in order to have a shot. And again, to have a shot, because the Denver Nuggets are back home and their role players are going to step up and play better. They're going to step up and play better than they did before. And so now you're in a situation where if Kevin Durant and Devin Booker don't play well, which they didn't, especially in game 6, it ain't going to be good. In game 5, Kevin Durant, 26 points, but he shot 10 of 24 from the field with 11 rebounds and 7 assists. In game 6, 23 points, 8 of 19 from the field, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. It ain't enough. They needed KD to be 35 to 40-point Kevin Durant. Devin Booker in game 5, 28 points, 8 of 19 shooting from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. But in game 6, they needed Devin Booker to be, 36, 9, and whatever, number one in transition, number one on points on drive, number one in ISO, number one in mid-range. They needed all of that. And he went out there and gave him 12 points, shooting 4 of 13 from the field, with 8 assists and 1 rebound. They went out there and got smoked by like 30, 40 points. You kind of expected it at that point. Watching that game, you kind of expected it. You knew at some point they was going to need more from their bench. They was going to need more from their role players. They was going to need more in order to truly compete for this, in this series. And, I got it right here in my notes after watching game 4 for the episode that was supposed to be posted, but ultimately, again, technical difficulties didn't get posted. I had right there in my notes, the series at that time was tied 2-2. And I said to myself, well, which one is going to be, which one can you depend on more? Do you depend on, or can you count on Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combining for 86 or 72 points, and then somebody coming off the bench giving you 20, from Landry Shamet to, whoever, Terrence Ross, whoever? Or do you depend on the number 1 seed Denver Nuggets, who's the number 1 rated offense in the league, who has the depth and the 2-time MVP on their roster, who's still in their prime? Which one is going to be more reliable and more dependable heading back home for game 6 or for game 5? The Denver Nuggets. And so it was tough, man. And it was tough to watch game 5, man. Kevin Durant, as sensational as he is, these last 2 postseason runs, man, he has not looked great. I don't know if it's Father Time kicking in. I don't know if it's the chemistry amongst his teammates. I don't know if it's coaching. We know, Monty Williams was just fired. Maybe it was that. Who knows? But I mean, he's starting these games over 8. You know what I'm saying? 1 of 10. You know what I mean? Like, that's not Kevin Durant. We used to Kevin Durant being ultra efficient, and he really wasn't that for a vast majority of this series. It was very tough to watch. And Devin Booker, in a way, kind of carried these boys. I mean, even in game 3 in the series, KD had 39, but he shot like 39% from the field or something along those lines. Game 4 was probably his best game of the series, Kevin Durant, that is. But outside of that, KD was it was tough. Now KD still, I still believe in KD, and I think that he will be better next year, with a full season under his belt with this team. Because chemistry, that was my question. Does chemistry play a role? And it did. It did. They didn't know who to count on late in these games, but two players. So, that was a big question for me. Will chemistry play a part? And it did down the stretch of this series. But it also plays a part with your stars, man. Your stars gotta get used to playing with each other, get used to, getting the ball on their spots on the floor. Guys gotta know where KD like the ball. Guys gotta know where, Devin Booker like the ball. Guys gotta know how to, create for others, and guys gotta know how to make their teammates comfortable. And you saw throughout this series, man, when the Denver Nuggets clamped up on defense, their defense kind of surprised me in that series. It was tough. It was tough on the Phoenix Suns, man. So, without Chris Paul, and don't even get me started on DeAndre Ayton. My goodness, don't even get me started on DeAndre Ayton, who they should look to trade expeditiously. I mean, they got to get rid of him immediately. The moment they get a shot, they got to get rid of him, yo. They that's done. Don't even get me started. I don't want to even go down that rabbit hole. But they making some changes over there in Phoenix, and they should. They got 2 stars over there. If they get a good benches and a supporting cast, maybe a younger PG, because Chris Paul is on his way out the door and is struggling to stay healthy at this point in his career. I think they can make a run in the future. But right now, man, it don't look good. And the time is limited. Now, this window is kind of short. I don't know. We don't know how much time KD got left in this game, for real. The way he been looking lately. I'm not saying he done after next year, but what I'm saying is, does he have another 3 years at this elite level? I don't know. I mean, we just talked about how LeBron, even at, as great as LeBron is starting to kind of show, whether it's the injury or whether it's the age. It shows after a while. Father Time is undefeated, man. And that is what it is. And so that window is short. So whatever moves they got to make them. And they got to make him fast. I think they're going to be able to get some free agents in the offseason to come and play with them. But they got to make them quick, yo. They ain't got time to waste. They don't have time to waste. So as far as that series is concerned, yet another series that your boy predicted correctly. Not only the team that won, but down to the number of games. Where's my ping? There it is. Y'all heard the bang in a little bit. Yes, sir. Because your boy got the Western Conference right. Your boy got that down. And I'm finna continue that. Here on Full Timeout, man, you get accurate predictions, man. It's accurate predictions over these ways, man. This ain't no ordinary sports analysis. This ain't no ordinary sports predictions. You get accuracy over here that you ain't gonna get nowhere else. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but the facts are what the facts are. Let's move on officially to the Western Conference Finals. Listen, y'all know I'm leaning towards my boys. I'm leaning towards my boys, all biasness aside. I think the Lakers just have some advantages in this series that they could take advantage of. The Denver Nuggets are the best offensive team in the league, but the Lakers are the best defensive team in the league, or at least the best defensive team left in this series. Now, what I will say is this team is not the same team that they was in the bubble. The Denver Nuggets, that is, because the Lakers did beat them in 2020 in the bubble. They got an improved Michael Porter Jr., a smarter Michael Porter Jr. They got Aaron Gordon now. They got KCP, who won the championship with the Lakers. They got Bruce Brown. They got Jeff Green. They got some experience over there now that they didn't have before. They got shot making over there now that they didn't have before. They got defense and versatility over there that they didn't have before in the bubble. And in that series in the bubble, LeBron James went out there and averaged 27, 10, and 9. AD went out there and averaged 31 and 6. So far, leading up into this playoff series, neither one of these guys are doing that. LeBron averaging about 25 points a game, 9 and 6, and AD's averaging about 22 points per game, 15, 3, and 2 blocks. They going to need them to score a little bit more. I said this last series, and I was shocked at how our depth performed. Well, not necessarily shocked, but I thought that they would need a little bit more from their stars, and they didn't get as much as I thought that they needed in order to win, and they still won. So kudos, but I think against these Denver Nuggets, Jokic and Jamal Murray are problems. Now, what I will say about them is we got the best defensive big in the league. I don't care what award JJ won. AD is the best defensive big in the league. And so I do think that matchup is going to be favorable, but AD got to show up for every game against Jokic. Because if he don't, Jokic going to go crazy. Jokic trying to get to a chip and he ain't playing. Jokic trying to get to a chip and he ain't messing around. He ain't messing around at all. We saw him put up 50 on the Suns. We saw him pretty much dominate the Suns for the vast majority of that series, man. So, the man ain't playing around. He averaged 35, 13, and 10 in that series. And then how do you defend Jamal Murray? He averaged 25 and 7. Now, what I'll say is I suspect that Murray will see a lot of Vando and he'll see a lot of Dennis Schroeder, who I expect to be inserted in the starting lineup at some point in this series, whether it be to start the series or, the back half of this series. But Darvin Ham made that adjustment. I also expect to see Lonnie Walker on him too. Darvin Ham made those adjustments mid-series against the Warriors. I expect that to be, and he saw a lot of success. I expect that to be another adjustment that he makes for this series. As far as Jokic is concerned, again, AD, the best defensive big in the league. We don't have Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. So it is important for AD to stay out of foul trouble. Again, it is important for AD because y'all know Jokic is king at getting fouls. He know how to draw contact. So it's important for that man, AD, to stay out of foul trouble because we need him on both sides of the basketball. Without AD out there, we got no shot against these guys because Jokic is just going to go crazy, and we know that. Shout out to AD for staying healthy too. Knock on wood. Please stay healthy, AD, please. But yeah, so we don't have those two bigs, and that helped us a lot in the bubble. We don't have that advantage this year. And so AD's got to stay out of foul trouble, and he's got to play big on both sides of the ball in this series as well. But ultimately, the Nuggets defense, I question how they going to defend the Lakers. Who they got for LeBron? Who they got for AD? Now, Aaron Gordon ain't to be slept on. He can defend, but is he going to stop AD? I'm not sure about that. And then you got Reeves, who can get buckets here and there. You got D'Lo, who can get buckets here and there. The Lakers are just as deep as the Nuggets, if not deeper. I think this series is going to come down to the play for the most part of the stars on both sides of the ball. And I trust LeBron James and Anthony Davis a little bit more than I trust Jokic and Jamal Murray on both sides of the basketball because that's key. They can score, but defense wins championships, baby. So I'm leaning towards the Lakers in 6 games. And to close the pod out today, we gonna go over here to the Eastern Conference Finals where we got the Heat and the Celtics. And to be real with y'all, I think this series is more about the Celtics than it is the Heat. When I look at the Heat playoff run, they beat the Bucks a couple games without Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then they went in there and beat a New York Knicks team that I think we all expected them to beat. Now they're going up against a Boston Celtics team that could be the best team in the league when they play how they're supposed to play. They could be the best team in the league when they play how they're supposed to play. They got 2 superstars over there that can ball out and play big when it matters most. So it's key to get them both involved in games. It was too many times in the series against the Sixers where Jaylen Brown did not touch the ball in the fourth quarter and down the stretch of those games. So that's going to be key. The Celtics have to come to play. They got to be there mentally. Coaching is going to play a big role in this. Again, we talked about Joe Mazzulla. He going over there against that boy, over there in Miami. He ain't going to play no games over there. Coach over there from Miami ain't no joke. So, they got to be prepared for that. And, but if the Celtics are on their game, and I think they're going to be too much, the Heat going to need the best of Jimmy. They're going to need the best of Bam, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Strus, Caleb Martin, though, all of those guys, But at the end of the day, I think the Celtics are overall the better basketball team when they are locked in. If they are not locked in this series, and I keep on bringing this up because y'all know what I'm talking about when I say if they not locked in. They don't be locked in sometimes. If they are not locked in, Jimmy going to go to the finals this year. So this series, in my opinion, is more about the Boston Celtics. They have to coach well. They have to get both superstars involved in every game in this series in order to win. They have to defend it at a high level. And they just got to play smart basketball. But when it comes to the depth from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, White, they got guys that can go out there and play at a high level. They got guys that's been to an NBA Finals. They got a team that just beat the Heat last year. They struggled because they wasn't locked in last year and blew games that they shouldn't have blown and let Jimmy just go crazy. So, that is what it is. But I think if the Celtics are locked in this series, the Celtics will win this series in 6 games, and we will get the legendary Lakers versus Celtics in the NBA Finals yet again. That's all I have for y'all today, man. Thank y'all for tuning in again. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to hear this over the radio, just go on, theblock105.com. If you're watching this or you're listening to this over the radio, go on YouTube, timeout 0824. You'll find me. For now, I'm signing off. AJ2K. We'll catch you on the next episode of Full Time Out.